Hi, my name is Mandy McIntosh. I am the owner of Prodigal Panda Writing and Social Science Center. A lot of people think that every haunting is demonic. Unless it's good, then it's an angel. And a lot of the clients I've worked with have been very concerned that they may be experiencing a demonic haunting. So, how do we actually determine if this is a demonic haunting? Well, today I'm going to give you the 8 tip-offs that you have a demonic haunting. Stay tuned. As I mentioned in my opener, some people believe everything bad is demonic, and it doesn't even have to be bad, just anything that can be construed that way is demonic. And everything that is good and upright is an angel, and then that's it. There's no human spirits. And I am not necessarily here to change your mind. Some people believe there are no demons, period. Again, I'm not here to change your mind on that. I am going to be speaking from my perspective today and tell you 8 things that I look for when I do an investigation to tell me that this is a demonic entity. I would like to preface this with the fact that I've been investigating for 19 years, come June 2026. And over the course of that time, I have had 4 demonic cases. Um, Other than that, I don't believe that we've had any demonic activity that I've investigated. And I also want to let you know that I am basing my opinions on whether I believe that there are demons or angels or things like that based on my personal experience and investigation. So I have personally experienced a demon. I have been on 3 other investigations or lived in a home with a demon. And then I have also done a lot of cases over 19 years. So to have only 4, that tells me that this is not a very common problem that we're going to find in a home or a business that we're going into. Um, and that tends to kind of check out through the board. There are people that have shows or podcasts or things like that that have the belief that it's demon or angel. But if we look across just science-based shows that go out and investigate, what we're going to find is pretty much the same thing. It's a very small amount of cases in comparison to all the cases investigated where we have a demonic entity. Now, that said, we need to be cautious when we go on investigations. Demons don't come to play nice. They like to lie. They like to trick people. Usually, when they appear, you're going to see things like a child or some helpless adult or helpless human, or even an animal that you want to go help and you want to befriend, and that's how it gets its claws into you. So, we need to be mindful of that as well, of course. I have also been told that I've been hoodwinked and that all these humans that I have helped have really been demons in disguise. So demons don't tend to move on peacefully from a location. It tends to take a bit to get them out, and it tends to take a lot of energy to get them out. So to let me move them on as peacefully as most human spirits will move on, um, that would be unusual for a demon. That would kind of fall counter to what it is there to do, which is to possess and oppress people, right? So that doesn't make sense. And if I have managed to get a demon to behave enough that a family is okay with the demon staying on the property, even though there's no interaction there and there's no oppression there, then I think I probably tricked the demon rather than the other way around. This just doesn't go with the nature of a demon. So we can't call it a demon when it doesn't look like, sound like, or walk like a demon. We have to take into consideration what their ultimate goal is and what they tend to do and how they tend to act. So that just doesn't make sense for me. So I'm going to tell you specifically the 8 things that I look for when I go on an investigation and someone is concerned about a demon or when they're going over activity in the home, if my fillers get put up. This is what I'm looking for. The first thing is kind of obvious. It's a sulfuric acid smell. Now, this smells like rotting eggs, really bad garbage or death, basically. And so if you have that going on, that's pretty concerning. It could definitely be something physical and completely explainable that's happening. There might be something with a septic tank or things like that going on that we need to check into, obviously, and make sure that's not the cause of it. But often the smell tends to come and go. And yes, there are smells associated with other hauntings as well, but these tend to be things like perfumes, flowers, cigarettes, not rotting eggs. So if we have that sulfuric smell, that's a tip off. The next thing that I look for is hot spots. So most spirits, when they try to manifest or you're measuring them on your digital thermometer, not a digital thermometer like you use on your head. This is one that's got an infrared in it. Or even when you're looking at your thermal camera, you might find a cold spot. This is a spot that is significantly colder than the air around it. It doesn't have to be like 30 degrees to qualify as a hot spot or a cold spot. It just has to be colder significantly than the air around it. So if I had 70 here and 68 here, that's not a cold spot and I'm not going to worry about it. But if I have 70 here and maybe 40 here, then that's a cold spot. And now I need to investigate it. Well, demons, and the reason we think that there are cold spots here and that that is signs of paranormal activity is that we believe that the spirits, and I'm getting this from a quantum physics book that I went through and compared paranormal stuff to other, somebody had compiled studies that had been done on things that would be considered for the paranormal. It was quite a lengthy and very heady read, and it was hard. I'm not going to lie, but I feel the better for it. So, what we believe is that spirits need electromagnetic energy. Maybe they're made of electromagnetic energy, maybe they draw it down from the air to manifest. We're not exactly sure how that happens. We don't know a lot with quantum physics, to be honest, but we believe that that draws the temperature out of the air and they're using that magnetic field to manifest. Now, for whatever reasons, demons don't seem to need to do that to manifest. They may be affecting the electromagnetic field in a different way. We just really don't know. They're not very cooperative with science experiments either. So that's just two strikes immediately. They don't smell good and they don't do science experiments. Um, Sorry, I have to laugh at a few things here. But they create a hotspot. And again, this doesn't have to be 100 degrees. It has to be significantly hotter than the air around it if you're seeing a difference there. Um, so they are more associated with the hot spots, and a human spirit is going to be associated with a cold spot. And also make sure that you don't have an air vent that's flowing hot or cold air, because that's definitely going to affect your hot and cold spots. The next thing I look for are physical assaults on people in the home. Now, normally these are scratches, and they're normally very deep scratches, and they normally come in threes, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Um, Oftentimes they're serious up to and including death. And while I have mentioned that I have only worked on 4 cases that I believe had demons involved in them over the 19 years that I've done this, I do believe I have been around to witness the death of a person due to demonic activity. It is unfortunate that things were not done in a way that would have possibly at least scaled back the activity. Um, but again, I do believe that that is something that I have experienced. And certainly we've heard of exorcisms and things like this that have caused death in people before as well. Now, again, normally it's scratches, burns are, and bruises are also kind of common. And the other thing to know about these injuries is that one of two things seems to happen here. The first is that we're bleeding, we've got this horrible gash, we're in horrible pain, and we're trying to get something to deal with it, and we're screaming, maybe, I'm hurt, I'm hurt. But when we look down to deal with it, or when our friend comes over to help us, there's nothing there anymore. And it's just gone. No trace of it ever having happened. The other thing that can happen is that they stick around for a long time. Um, and I am, unfortunately, a person who can attest to that. Uh, I had an encounter and an investigation, and I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to share pictures with you. But I only have pictures of one of the two demons that were there. And I do believe there were two separate ones. I'm going to talk about the first one. He was a little nastier than the second one, and I don't have anything. He did not show himself physically, and unfortunately, I don't think any of us thought to take pictures of my scratches. Or if we did, they are lost in time somewhere on a computer. Um, so I do not have permission to share the name of this location that I was at. They are out of business, but I uphold confidentiality. I am allowed to tell you things about what happened there, and I am allowed to tell you about our evidence and share that with you. So this was a business that was a haunted house, and they had set up their haunted house in a building that used to be like a warehouse or a factory. And what they did was they used the downstairs as kind of some rooms for their actors to chill out in. They also have rooms that just weren't utilized. They had rooms for makeup, and then they had rooms where they kind of sold, I believe they sold concessions. They also had some like gig workers there to keep people that were in line, excited and entertained while they were waiting to go through the haunted house, which was on the second floor. And they did multiple haunts throughout the year. And the way that they would keep this interesting is that the entire floor upstairs was basically just a big long floor. It had been used for, I can't remember right now what it was, but as office space of some sort. So what they did was they put plywood up through there and they made their haunted trail. So when we came to the facility, they were concerned, but they didn't share anything that would have tipped me off right away. And they wanted to know, which is why they did not tip me off right away. They did tell me they had concerns with one room and that they were not allowing people in it anymore, that they had had a person hurt. So that puts your feelers out a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. A ghost could be trying to like reach out and touch you, and you could freak out and get hurt. That doesn't mean that it had ill intent to start with. It means it was trying to communicate in a way that it was able, and it didn't work out well, right? So that's not an immediate red flag. It's a be cautious flag. It's a yellow flag. Um, so we went into this room and immediately smelled sulfur. So this became an immediate concern at this point. And we measured a hot spot there. Now we were doing the walkthrough on that day. So we had just come out to look at the place and see what all we were going to need. The other thing was that I did something that I don't normally or didn't when I had a group. I don't have a group anymore. I didn't usually allow to happen in the group, which was that they wanted to be part of the investigation. They wanted to learn how to do this stuff. And so um, I did agree to it. And so I had newer investigators at the time, and I felt like if they could teach somebody else to do it, that was going to be a bolster to them too. And if these people were in kind of the same business as us in a way, then, let's teach them how to do these things professionally. So we went down a day early to do the walkthrough. Now, when we came back the second day, and I had already flagged that room and said, the building was pretty wide open. So somebody could have been, in the room here while somebody was in that room here. And they would have been fine normally, but I didn't want anybody in that room alone. Um, and I wanted a lead investigator in there if anybody was going in there. And I offered myself up first, of course. So myself and my lead investigator at the time, we found a hot spot and it was right in the middle of the room. There was only a mattress in this room anyway. So there was really nothing that you could have like snagged yourself on or hurt yourself on. And I don't know why we do this, but I swear we always do it. When there's some kind of colder or very rare hot spot, we put our hand in it. And I did that. I put my hand in it and we watched the claw marks just go right up my arm. And it went up my arm on this side and it looked awful. Um, and I was very concerned at that point and told everybody, hey, nobody but leads in here. Um, the owner did not know that I had been hurt yet. And I want to review evidence before I make decisions about things, which I think every good investigator does. But at the same time, when you have seen the activity and you know that that's bad, and that is a severe injury, then you need to let the person know that we want to restrict that area for a bit. And I told him that I would not allow my actors in there for the time being. Please let us review our evidence. And he said, "Did you get scratched?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "They're all over my back and they won't heal." Um, so true to his word, they did not for me either. I had the scratches for about 9 months. They dulled down, but they were there. And I thought I was going to have a scar. It eventually went away about a year later. I didn't have any scars from the incident. So that was one part of this place. Now, the second one, I'm going to show you our picture here. So let me hop over. All right. So this is my picture, and I'm going to go ahead and just key it in here. So what you're seeing in this picture are two pieces of plywood, because remember I told you not me, I'm not talented enough to do this. They had the plywood fitted into a maze. Now, while there's a gap here, these pieces of plywood are connected and they're bolted in. So it's not like I'm going to push them and be able to walk straight through here. I have a tendency to see dead people, and not everybody else sees them. So sometimes when I see things, I know other people are not going to see it. We were stopped at a point in the tour by the actor, and he was telling us some activity that was going on in this area. And I decided to just take my camera and grab a picture of it. And when I grabbed a picture of it, it was still there. And that was exciting for me. But I have also had the talent on occasion to see things in video or photo that other people just simply do not see. And it was very amazing the first time it happened. But I wanted to make sure they could see it before I like got overly excited. So I said, "Hey, do you guys see something in this photo?" And immediately everybody went to our wolf-eared friend here. Um, so I said, "Are there any props on that side of the wall that could be creating this?" And he said, "There's absolutely nothing on that side of the wall." So we proceeded to have to run through this maze because there's no way to just go across. And it was quite hilarious. I wish somebody had been there to film it, because there was a part of this maze that the floor tipped so that you were like in this like fun house kind of unbalanced thing, but you're running through it to try. I'm pretty sure one of us bit the dust. Fortunately, it wasn't me, which I'm shocked. Um, Myself and one of my investigators got over there, and we did see a shadow going down into the darkness over by the door, investigated, went after it, and didn't see this thing. But I clearly made eye contact with him. So what I found out later, and without sharing the fact that I had gotten this, some of the other actors were investigating with me up on the second floor. And he proceeded to tell me about how the time was that they drew this pentagram here in this location, and that they were reading stuff from spell books and just pretending to conjure stuff up. And that's when all this started to happen. So I think that they probably opened up something or did something to call this one through. We did not get injured by him, but he was more than happy to tell us that he was going to kill us. We did see red eyes. He did chase us. It wasn't quite the full-blown behavior I would expect out of a demon. He kind of reminded me of a sarcastic demon, to be honest. Um, I didn't get the chance to really poke further into it. The owner, after investigation and looking at all the evidence that we had, decided that he needed to sell the building. They did not seem to have their claws, so to speak, into him, because a lot of times if you move, that doesn't mean the activity goes away. It just means that the activity follows you. So fortunately, and I didn't keep in touch with any of them, so I could be wrong, but fortunately, it looks like that didn't happen and that they were okay with selling the building. And I do believe that shortly thereafter, the building has become vacant again. So I don't know if there's still activity going on over there or not. But there was some concerning activity with this. We didn't get a chance to see if we could cleanse it or not. I do want to show you just very quickly, because in looking for my pictures for this photo, I did find some thermal imaging spots, and we're talking about hot spots and cold spots. I wanted to show you some thermal imaging photo. Now, this is of a human spirit, and this is not a significant, really, temperature change for us. It's a little hotter. And this is what we're talking about, though, and having like colder spots and hotter spots. So we did have a gentleman who identified himself as Doug and told us he used to work there. Doug was like a puppy dog all night long, and he was very, very fun to interact with. He would spell things out for us on the EMF. He told us about working there. They answered questions about working there. And one thing that I want to show you is not as impressive as it was in person. So it's just kind of a good memory, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Thermal imaging cameras are still not cheap. And back in 2008-ish, they were even less not cheap. So this is a thermal imaging flare camera that just takes pictures. It does not take video. Um, golly, I feel like those were going for at least 4,000 back in the day. Um, but this one, as grainy as it is, was about $400. We were only able to take pictures of things. So at one point, we had two teams, and Doug was sitting in the middle. He was making our EMF go off. He was communicating, and we asked if he could show himself. So we got this little bit of a spot here, and then this is zoomed in significantly. And so now we have this spot. Now, listen, we can matrix these all day long, right? We do feel like this is a figure here for sure. And these are the sheets on the plywood back here, so they are a little cooler at this point. The windows were kind of broken out in places too. When we zoomed in, we got this. I well know somebody's going to say they see a face in here, and that's great, but it's probably matrixing. And you're going to say, well, why isn't this one matrixing? And the reason is because we got to see it in real time. So you're going to see right here that there is a yellow like swish. So Doug, we asked him, if you are Doug, if this is Doug we're seeing in our thermal camera here, can you wave to us? And this thing waved to us. And this is all the memory we get to have of that. But you can see his hand kind of shoot here. And we do see a man hanging out here. We see his face. It's very hard. I don't want to go there just yet. Sorry, I accidentally clicked something. It's very hard not to matrix things at times. And sometimes you think you do have something and it's not. And sometimes you don't think you have something and it is. So I really just wanted to share Doug's story with you. He was a big enthusiast for letting paranormal investigators hang out with him and ask him a million questions. He loved talking. So just to go to show you, that is a human activity that was on a property with two demonic activities. And it's completely different activity that we see between the two of those things. So let's move on now to the next one. We're on number 4. The other thing that I look for is if somebody is being impersonated in the home. Now, there's also a thing called a mimic, and it is also not a pleasant little creature that you want to run into. The thing I think that is different between the mimic and a demon is that most of the time I hear mimics very clearly in video. I've never experienced one, but in videos, I hear them like very, very, very clearly. But if I ever see anything, it's like kind of a black blobbish thing that just like runs. I don't think that I've seen one with any form to it. Now, if you know of one, please let me know. Drop a link or something here. Email me. I'd love to be able to see that video. But to me, they kind of look like just black flashes or black masses that run. With demons, you're going to see the person. And you're not going to know that it's not them. Mimics tip it off really fast, right? Like they're like, open the door, sweetheart. And then like 3 seconds later, like, open the door now. So with demons, they keep the ruse up. The way that you can tip off for that is that for whatever reason, and guys, I don't know where this goes back to. I've never found the like source, but it is claimed that you won't see their feet. Now, please know that it takes a lot of energy for something to manifest. So it is perfectly normal if you see a human spirit and you don't see a lower half or you only see so much. It takes a lot of energy to manifest. So that's not the immediate tipped off. But if it's acting like me and you can't see its lower half, then that's a problem. And unfortunately, that is exactly what happened in the place that I am actually right at the door in the room that I'm currently filming in. When we moved into this apartment, I saw a red pentagram in the laundry room, and I thought that was weird. I've never seen a red one before. I was not experiencing any paranormal activity. I was just happy. And my grandmother and we had a roommate for a very brief stint of time. We're just experiencing paranormal activity left and right. I have since learned, and that's been over 10 years ago, that if that's happening, it's probably nothing great because it doesn't want me to know it exists. So I was peacefully unaware as to how bad the situation was. But I was gone one afternoon. I was out running our errands, grabbing medicine, grabbing food, doing the stuff. And my grandmother said that I came to the door of the bedroom. This used to be her bedroom where I'm filming. And she said that I talked to her at great length. She said at least 10 minutes or so, and that I would not come in the room and I would not like open the door enough for her to see my lower half. It was just my face. Um, and she was convinced that I was like trying to scare her or trying to prank her. And I said, tell me what time it was that you saw me. And she told me. And I said, well, here's the receipt. I was at the grocery store. There's no possible way that I was here at that time if I was at the grocery store this time, because there's not enough time to get home and do that to you and then leave again. So She finally had to accept the fact that that was not me. But she told me it was wearing the clothes I was wearing that day, that it spoke like me and moved like me. What we came to find out with this house was that the red pentagram was spot on, and that the man who lived here was pretty maniacal, maybe is a good word. Um, our neighbors didn't speak to us when we first moved in. And we thought, okay, well, maybe they just don't like to speak or anything. I'm not the most social person if I'm like on my downtime either. So after about a month or two, she finally spoke to me and she said, the man who lived here before you was absolutely crazy. And I just wanted to see how you acted before I spoke to you. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, he said he was summoning a demon and he stabbed a cat. Um, in this red pentagram he had in his laundry room. The cat was screaming. I came over, I grabbed it, but before I could get anywhere with it, it died. There was another kitten he had. I grabbed that one, and he just sat on the back porch just laughing at me in this really creepy laugh. And I was like, well, that kind of coincides with what we're experiencing in this apartment. It took about 5 tries. We kind of figured he opened up a portal. And so whatever it was we were shipping out of here, it was just coming right back in. Um, it took a good 5 or 6 tries before I finally got it closed. Um, and I used my blessing cleansing kit. We will talk about that at the end, but that is what I use when I am clearing a home from any kind of entity, demonic, human, bad energy, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, let's move on to number 5. So demons like the number 3. They usually do everything in number threes. So there's a lot of numerology involved in this, and a lot of Christians will not admit to how much numerology is in the Bible, but we see the same numbers repeated time and time again. And they have a connotation to them that's associated with numerology. I do not study numerology, but I am smart enough to know that I'm seeing the same thing over and over again. We're having it mean certain things. 6 is a number of incompletion, 7 is a number of completion. We've got 3 gods in one. We've got a bunch of things with threes, an untold amount of things with sevens. So 12 is also a big number, 40 is a big number. And people like to think, oh, it means something. Um, it means something. It's there for a reason. Now, the story goes that the reason that 3 a.m. is the time of demons is because Jesus died at 3 a.m. on the cross. And so it is a mockery of his death. Nobody documented when Jesus died on the cross. We documented a lot about that day, but not that. So we have no idea. And Christians we have a habit through the Catholic Church of moving things around to kind of where it suits, right? So we created and moved All Saints Day to coincide with Samhain or Halloween. We moved around where Jesus' birthday we think is. We don't know when Jesus was born. We can use signs in the Bible to determine when he was born, and it doesn't really point to winter. But we moved it there because we needed to compete with the winter solstice. We needed to give people something to celebrate in order to give up their paganism and come be with the Christian church. I probably think that somewhere along the line, the witching hour at 3 a.m., and we've come up with Jesus' death at 3 a.m. I think it's just something that happened. And I have a personal theory on this. It is simply based on my observations of things that I've done in my meditation and in my spiritual practices, as well as when I investigate. So I'm going to share it with you. I think what happens is when I meditate with angels, and I've talked to other people that meditate with angels, we never see the angel look the same way. for angels, I think are females. Maybe the other practitioner thinks are males. Maybe one of us has dark skin, a dark skinned angel. One of us has a blonde haired angel. And angels, by the way, do not look like the beautiful figurines that I have setting on my touch cabinet. They look horribly scary. And I think that's why we often hear fear not when we hear from the angel, because they look like a giant hairy spider with a lion's head coming at you. So I think what's happened is that we've gotten this image of what an angel should look like, right? And the angel said, if that's going to get the message to you, great. That's what I look like. And I think it changes between each person as to what we're expecting, because we put that out there. And so it gives it back, right? They just give back the energy we put out, um, which I think is how most things work. So I think with demons, we put out, oh, we're afraid of 3 a.m. And 3 p.m. is really like the good time. That's when Jesus died. That is, the time of our Lord. So obviously the reverse time of that is the time of witches and demons. I think we put it out there and I think the demons grabbed it and said, "Oh, that's what scares you. Cool. I am going to show up at 3 a.m. I'm going to do everything with threes." The Holy Trinity, three. I'm going to scare the life out of them. I'm going to give them so many threes. I also think that we have kind of projected this thing of where, oh, I don't know how I want to describe it, that it's a mockery of Christ because the Latin is a kind of the official language of the Catholic Church, right? So if we say it backwards, then that's a mockery, okay? And if we say it forwards, then that's of God. So the demon says, "Oh, that scares you. Let me get that for you. I can speak backwards in Latin. That's no problem." I think they take things that scare us and we dig in and say, "Oh, it's a mockery, it's a mockery." And they're like, "That scares them, so let's do that." That's my personal theory on it. Again, just based off of people seeing different things and the fact that, we get the energy that we put out there. So if we're putting out there that we're afraid of that and it comes our way, we're afraid of that, right? So it already knows that we're afraid of it. Personal aside on my plausible theories of how this works. But again, you're going to hear Latin backwards. You're going to get the claw marks in threes. You're going to have things happen at 3 a.m.s. Demons do like the number three. If you're further along into a demonic haunting, you're eventually going to experience something that has been termed as oppression. And this is really where it's pretty thick in the house, and people that are affected by it are no longer expressing their faith. They're not going to church. They're not praying. They're going to have personality changes. Their mood's going to probably be all over the place, but a lot of anger, a lot of depression. You're going to see people being secretive. There's probably going to be some nightmares or some visions going on. There's just pretty much general chaos in the home when we get to the oppression state, and it's pretty easy to spot at that state, but it's also pretty hard to undo at that state. So we want to get to it before it gets there. But if you're in that state, then that is something to be concerned about and definitely something to be reaching out to a professional team about. All right. Personally, I listen for somebody telling me that they have done a ritual or used the Ouija board, and it doesn't stop there. I'm making a big sentence. And they didn't know what they were doing. Um, so a witch is not inherently evil. Somebody that practices paganism is not inherently evil. It's not how it works. There's light workers, there's dark workers. And I know some people that identify as dark workers that I really don't think are doing anything horribly wrong. I wouldn't do it, but that is not my religion, and that's okay. So I think what happens here is just like I told you at the place that I investigated that we talked about first. It's not knowing what we're doing. These are serious rituals, and when you do them, you are harnessing energy and you are directing it in a certain path. When we pray, we're harnessing energy, we're directing it in a certain path. We do meditations, affirmations, Reiki, all of these things are energy that we're directing in a certain path. So when you do a spell or a ritual, you're getting energy, you're directing it in a certain path. So if you don't know what you're doing and you just start doing it and hope for the best, you're playing with something that has the potential to go sideways really quickly. So what I want to recommend to you is if that you are interested in paganism or Wicca, sorry, if you're interested in either of those religions, go ahead and explore, but do it with a mentor. Go and find somebody who's able to start you off where you need to start off at, and baby step you through and teach you what you need to know about that faith. We can't just like jump in and start doing it, right? We have to learn stuff first. And so I don't know how the whole setup is with these different religions. I know that there's covens. I don't really know how you get into one. I think probably if you stop by a metaphysical store, you're going to run into somebody that's going to be able to help you and steer you in the wrong or in the right direction, not the wrong direction. Although there's probably somebody there to do that as well. So be cautious. Um, so if you want to do that, there is nothing wrong with that. Just know that you're doing something that's powerful and you should know what you're doing, right? So that's that part of it. People that use Ouija boards, you are, in my opinion, opening up a portal. And anything can come out of that portal. It might be something good, it might be something bad. And unless you're comfortable with holding on to that energy and dealing with it, and you know how to close off that energy, I wouldn't try it. Um, Now, I have a firm rule if I have a group and I'm in charge that there's no Ouija boards. And if you don't like that, you can go find another paranormal group. There are a dime a dozen that are vastly different. So there is something here for everyone. You will find a place to fit in. Um, and the reason is I'm not comfortable dealing with that. And if I'm in charge and I'm uncomfortable, then we're not doing it because at the end of the day, the responsibility of the team is on me. And I feel like for me, it's one of those things. We actually, during the investigation for the book I'm working on, we went to a graveyard where there is a devil's chair. And supposedly, if you sit in the chair, you're going to die very soon. Do I believe that's true? No, not really. Am I going to go sit in the chair? Absolutely not. I value my life too much to make a stupid bet to find out if this stone chair is going to kill me or not. I'm just not going to do it. It's too precious of a price to pay to find out. So it's that way for me with a Ouija board. I feel like it's too high of a price to pay to deal with it. Now, there are other investigators that are about as leery of them as I am. John Zaffis is one of them. He is a great guy. I got to investigate with him at an event. He is very, very, very careful with Ouija boards. I adore Amy Bruni. I am part of her circle. She collects Ouija boards, and I'm pretty sure she uses them as well, if I'm not blanking on that right now. Um, and that's okay. I still adore Amy Birdie, and I would still go on an investigation with her. I met her at an event. She's wonderful. Um, that's that's great. That's fine. That's for them, and that's okay. And what's for somebody else is not necessarily for you. But what I do know is if you don't know what you're doing and you're not comfortable with it and you keep doing it and dabbling out there, then you're probably going to pay a price for it. So just be cautious with it. And also, I meant to mention in there, this was the thing that actually made me kind of laugh at how opposed to Ouija boards I am. If you're interested in finding a really funny documentary on Ouija boards, please type Josh Hurd, who owns Melbourne Manor, into your smart TV and find his Ouija board movie. It's a documentary. There were some active boards in there that they did get to communicate and apparently communicated well. But they literally took this Ouija board through so many places. And it was pretty absurd by the end of the movie as to why would I be afraid of that? And then I reminded myself, because it could open a portal. Just because theirs didn't doesn't mean mine won't. Mine probably would. So if you want to have a good laugh, definitely go check that out. But be cautious with Ouija boards and be cautious with rituals. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you feel comfortable doing it and having that much energy available to you. All right, the last one is that there is extreme activity in the home and it's frequent. So I know it looks like that there's a bunch of activity that just pops when people go on investigations, and sometimes it does. I'm going to use Weston Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum as an example. I helped lead tours during an emergency there. An emergency was that an event went south. So I was there for 3 nights solid, and the first night it was active. It wasn't horribly active, but you could get some good evidence. The second night it was popping, like there was no end to what was happening there. And the third night I was there, you would have kind of wondered if the place was haunted. We had absolutely nothing happen. Um, and it's like that, and it varies. That's one reason I don't investigate, is because I work as an English second language teacher and I work nights now. So I can't get to somebody if something's popping and I need to be there. And we sometimes can't do that anyway, right? Most of us have a professional job that we have to show up in. But we try to be there when somebody's going through something extreme, especially if there's a child in the home. And I'm not able to do that right now. But have no fear if you have a demonic entity in your home, because I can stop over anytime and there's going to be activity. And if there's not, it's pretty simple to start it off. All you have to say is, I bet you can't. And that's going to get you activity, because demons like to show up and show off. They are able to move heavy things. They are able to make a lot of noise. They're able to levitate things. They're able to throw things. They're able to manipulate electronics. They're able to do a lot of things that are scary in the home, and they feed off the fear, so they enjoy doing it. It's to accomplish more oppression and more fear. So it's pretty easy to find the activity in the home. If you're having that frequent activity and it's that extreme, now if you're having something that happens, maybe several times a week, that is frequent, but it's not extreme frequent activity in the way that a demonic would be. So let me share with you my last demon story of the day. So this is from a case that I basically had to walk away from because the person was not interested in basically allowing it to finish out. And this one was complicated, and honestly, I'd love to write a book about it one day as well. So I'm going to really just hit the high points here with it, and tell you about how active a demon can be. I had my business set up inside a metaphysical store at one point. Really didn't do very well there, but I was young and hopeful. And so I had somebody associated with the store tell me they were having activity around their home, out in their yard. And it felt like it was trying to get in the house. They were worried and they were wondering if I could come out and investigate. And I said, absolutely. And we kind of just never made the plan. Until she came to me and said, hey, I was attacked in my sleep last night, and I was attacked by somebody in the home who I love, and I thought it was them, and then they choked me, and I thought I was going to die, and I need you to come out to my house like tonight. And so I did, and we investigated, and I definitely saw evidence of what she was seeing in her yard. And I definitely saw things I had not seen before, and had to really figure out and embrace, even though there's something that I am not entirely sure I believe in, but yet saw. Um, so a lot was happening, but nothing that said to me, my gosh, like, why did she get choked? Why did this thing attack her? It doesn't even seem like it can get inside. This doesn't make sense. And so the plan was that I was just going to stay so late investigating that I would just crash there and we would go into our respective workplaces together in the morning. So I did. And I was attacked in my sleep, and I honestly thought I was going to die. This thing was choking me so hard. I could not get it off me. And I knew, even as I finally was able to breathe, that it had attached to me. Um, I could feel fire like flaming up, and I had somebody that also sees things tell me, "There's fire on your back. What in the world is going on?" And I told them I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. So, to make a long story short, I basically found that there were four demons involved, and each were associated with an element. And this was a joint effort in figuring this out. So I figured I had the fire demon. We were seeing fire, the people who see things in the group that was working on this. So I came home to meditate with Archangel Michael. Michael is associated with the element of fire. And so I was doing meditations and I had the angel frequency on for Michael. That's how I meditate. And I'm trying to get this thing off of me. Now, number one, I hadn't really slept. So I was not thinking this through very well. And number two, I was wrong. I didn't have the fire demon on me. The Michael sound ran out and it flipped over to Raphael. And all of a sudden, this thing just flew, literally flew off of my back and it slammed into the wall. And that was when I realized I had made a horrible, horrible decision. So the reason it was a horrible decision was I had had a human spirit in our house. I tend to get some things that pop over from time to time because they know I see them. And he couldn't communicate. I really think he was new in death and he hadn't figured it out yet. And that's fine. We can take some time and figure it out. But I also needed to sleep. And we were having a lot of noise, a lot of moving of things during the night to the point where it was affecting me and my grandmother's sleep. So I decided that I was going to take my cleansing kit and I would just go ahead and cleanse the upstairs and move him downstairs, and he could wander through the night and move things around to his heart's contentment, and we would go to bed. So that's what I did. I cleansed the windows and I cleansed the outside perimeters, and I put a very firm boundary up against the stairs so that nothing could come up. And then I forgot nothing can go down. So I had effectively trapped this thing in my upstairs. Um, and so what I came to find out was that this was the air demon. Raphael is associated with air, and this guy is a phoenix. I'm not going to tell you his name, but he is a phoenix. We're going to take a quick look at him. This is him in a thermal camera. It was quite beautiful, honestly. And he loved, loved, loved to be dramatic and fly into the whole thing too. Very dramatic. And so I now had a demon and I wasn't sure how to get him out. And I wasn't sure how to deal with him. And I had blocked him in with me and my grandmother. So he obviously wasn't going in her room and he obviously wasn't going in mine. He obviously wasn't going in the bathroom and he couldn't hang in the hallway. So I had at the time a storage room for an office. It was our small bedroom. And what I did was I kept all my props in there, but my desk was in my bedroom. So when it was time for me to work, I would just go grab props and bring them into my room. Now, what do I mean by props? Well, I teach English. So I'm actually at my desk where I teach English now. So, like, this is a doll. And I have like a gazillion of her laying around here because I have like so many animals. And then like Christmas things, toys. I have props that are just paper, like this little guy here. And so everything was neatly organized into file folders and, until I moved him into my office. Um, I, at that point, had to leave for work. And I had spent half the night blocking him in, and I was leaving to go do my Let's Build a Business job. And so, which made exactly zero money, by the way. Um, I locked him in there and it was pretty early. So my grandmother wasn't going in there, really wasn't expecting a problem. So I didn't say anything to her. She also will claim she didn't know, she doesn't believe in the paranormal. She has passed since then. She doesn't believe in the paranormal, but also she'll tell you about how she's experienced the paranormal at the same time. Um, didn't think much of it. And when I came home, she was screaming at me. And she asked me what the hell was in that room. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, what is in that room? And I said, you don't believe in that stuff. And she said, I don't. What's in that room? And she said, because whatever it is, if you know what it is, you're going to lose it when you see it. And I said, what do you mean? She said, that thing has been throwing stuff all day long. It has clanged around on metal in there. I don't know what it's doing. I opened the door and a trash bag came hurling towards me, um, full of papers. And she was like, there's not a clean inch on the floor in there. There's papers, your trash bag that you keep over there where you like keep your papers, where you're cutting stuff all the time. It's everywhere. I think your whiteboard's been knocked down. And so she's just describing the chaos and ruins. And sure enough, that's exactly what it looked like. Um, and so to further boggle your minds, and just because I enjoy getting to say that I said this at one point in my life, um, I ended up having somebody, let's not go there yet, that was pagan come over, and I watched her through the thermal camera, and she kind of knocked this thing's energy down, and it turned more of this blue that's behind it here in the picture. And so what she did was knock it and make it weak enough that we put it in water. I don't exactly understand how we did this either. But we did. It was like taking something weak with energy and watching it in a camera as you moved it into a bag of water. And then we put the name of the demon in the water bag and we threw it in my freezer because you should always keep your unthawed chicken, yeah, your unthawed chicken beside your demon. Like, who wouldn't? And basically, we collected enough um, intel and came up with enough of a plan that we had enough people to go out and deal with getting rid of these things, since there were four of them, and it was more complicated than that. And so I got to take the frozen demon out of my fridge and take it to this woman's house to get rid of it. And I always get to joke that not everybody has got to answer the question, what are you doing this weekend? With, well, I'm unthawing a demon in my friend's sink and then getting rid of it. So I get to do that because that is a thing that I did. Um, Let me share with you one other photo from this investigation. We believe this is the portal that was in her yard, and we believe that that is how these things got through. Um, I was thinking it was a portal when I took it, but I have since found some investigators who said that they had taken a picture of a portal as well, and it does look quite similar. Um, for the portal, it tends to be very, very cold here. So what you're seeing here is negative, and I actually accidentally put that in Celsius, but negative in the Celsius. So yeah, it was quite crazy to see. It was absolutely huge and intimidating. And we obviously did not get that thing closed. We kind of band-aided it for the moment. And she was looking to move anyway, so the band-aid held enough to get her out of there. So if you're not willing to deal with one of these things, if you want to just kind of play around with Ouija boards or play around with ritual, then maybe don't. Maybe go find somebody and learn from them. And then you can go and do the things that you want to do with those tools in hand. All right. Well, before we end, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my first of all, what you should do if you have a demonic haunting, and then also my cleansing kits. So, if you're experiencing a demonic haunting, it is very important to not try to fix this on your own. I have actually refused sale of my blessing and cleansing kits to people who thought they were going to fix this on their own. Um, I told them I came with, like I'm a bonus gift when I was doing investigation. So there are many different religions in this world. There are many different points of view on how to fix this problem. Where I live is very firmly in the Christian Bible Belt, and it's hard to find different kinds of churches here. What I can tell you from having a group here, and this is 10 years ago at least, actually over 10 years ago, I would hope it's changed by then, but I really don't think that it has. If anything, I think it's probably gotten worse. Um, Most churches that I approached do not know how to do a house blessing. They told me, well, we'll help if we can. We'll just come out and you tell us what to do. They don't know how to do a house cleansing at all. And if you tell them you're experiencing the paranormal, they have a massive problem. Um, you've done something wrong in your life to bring this upon yourself, and apparently you also now need to save yourself from it. Your best bet, if you're of the Christian faith, is the Catholic Church, but please know you're going to run into a lot of red tape there. They normally expect you to convert to Catholicism and be baptized and have your communion. They are going to put you through some rigorous tests, and in a way, that's fine because a lot of what we think is demonic can be explained by mental illness, by undiscovered psychic gifts, by mental illness, or not mental illness, physical illness, like a brain tumor. They want to make sure that none of those things are happening. They may do a house blessing easier than actually like cleansing because they would consider that an exorcism. You have to get permission to do an exorcism of a home or a person from the Catholic Church. So, again, it's a lengthy process. It's not entirely a bad process, but it is lengthy. And we normally just want to go help now. So, those are some pros and cons to weigh. I did not have any Protestant churches that were very helpful. When I had a group here, we had one pastor who volunteered out of all that I had contacted, and he came in my client's home. He barely put his feet through the door. He held his Bible out. He said a prayer that was maybe 90 seconds long. And then he ran. He literally ran from the property. So that was very unsettling to my client. And it kind of set us back in a lot of ways. Um, so they were not comforting. They were not helpful. So you're going to find your fair share of that anywhere you go. I really don't know what other procedures are across other, faiths. I know I've worked with mostly pagan people when I've done actual like cleansings. So you might find a pagan person, again, just like with everybody else, just like with paranormal investigative teams. There are good ones, there are bad ones, there were okay ones. Okay. So you're looking for a good one. You're looking for somebody that knows what they're doing. So make sure that you can vet them in some way. Um, my first piece of advice, though, is that you need to get a team out to do an investigation. You may feel like you have a demonic haunting, and they might be able to ease your mind right away and let you know that this is probably a human haunting or that you have a squirrel in your attic. So just start there. And if you're having trouble finding a paranormal investigator team, that uses science to investigate and can keep a level head and hang in there if it's something scary, uh, contact me and I will try to help you find someone. If you're a team that does that, you can drop your links below too as well. Um, and I'll try to remember you first. I've actually TikTok has been wonderful for me, and I've met so many other, or at least get to see video of so many other investigators now that we really didn't get to do a whole lot of that before, and so it's really kind of amazing for me to see. Um, so we need to know what it is we're dealing with so that we can deal with it. Um, the other thing you need to know with getting rid of anything from your home, honestly, and of course it's going to be harder if it's a demonic entity, is that it's a process and it does take time. It may not work the first time. You may have to keep at it. And I always bless and cleanse my house once a month. And that way I just know that it's protected to some extent. I do drop my guard a little and say that things that need my help are allowed in. You don't need to do that. Um, and so, you are protected in a way. Always there are things that could happen with that. It's not a foolproof method. I'm not saying if you use my cleansing kit or use any kind of cleansing that it is going to for sure protect your house, but it does make it harder to get into. It's like why leave the door unlocked, right? At least make it hard for the robber to get in. Um, know that if this is a demonic haunting and it has latched onto you, moving is probably not going to solve your problem. You are going to have to deal with this. You're just going to move it to another location. It's a spiritual battle, and so you need to be in it for the long haul. A good book to read is The Right, and I cannot think of the guy's name who wrote it. The first name is Matt, I believe. And this has been made into a movie with Anthony Hopkins, The Right. You will see that the priest comes and like taps the person that's possessed, and they go a few rounds with the demon, and then they tap and it like puts it back to sleep and then they go. And they do this maybe several times a week. It is not the Conjuring, it's not Annabelle, it's not like this big, the Nun, it's not like this big battle. It may get a little rough at one point, especially if you're dealing with an exorcism. But it's not generally like that. It has not been like that at all whenever I have moved a demon on. I've been able to do that twice. So it was not like that either time for us. But just know that they can amp up the activity. They don't want to go peacefully. They don't want to go. So it is going to be a little unnerving and just be prepared for that. And you should have a team or clergy of your choosing that is there to help you through that. Um, if you are looking to just do a cleansing and blessing, or even if you're just looking to troubleshoot maybe something that's human, I do sell a cleansing and blessing kit. It is on my website. Um, by request, I have amped them up a little bit. I'm including more candles now. And I think I need to get a new picture since I had the old kit before. So you're going to get more incense sticks now and more candles. That way that oil is going to last longer. The oil can be used to anoint people. I will be doing a video on this eventually. And you can use the oil to anoint your house or anoint a person, as long as, again, it's essential oils and botanical oils. So I want to make sure that they're not sensitive on their skin to those things before we start using it that way. It is made from different herbs and different oils that were used to cleanse the temple or to cleanse people. when they were having some kind of like skin disease or they were spiritually unclean and they were being welcomed back into the camp. So I definitely sell that, but please don't just buy it if you think I can fix this problem on my own, because it's a big problem and you shouldn't have to fix it on your own. Feel free to message me. I will try to help you as much as I can. I'll try to find a group that's in your area to help you as much as you can. Um, and if you have any questions about demons, you can either drop them in the comments below. Sometimes I don't see a comment, but I do try to stay on top of those. Um, and then if you're kind of hesitant about putting your name to it out there, you can always email me. My company is me. I'm the only person that sees emails. You can do it through the contact link on my website. You can also do it through email. So I do want to share a few things with you as updates before I head off here. So let me start by sharing again and let you know if you're watching this video, it is currently February 6th of 2026. And so on February 14th of 2026, I will be at the Daily Dose Cafe. I tend to go out there every couple of months. They are a wonderful cafe. You will not be disappointed with anything you get there. So great coffee, so many different flavors, and so exciting that you can get pumpkin all year long there. It's amazing. They have outrageously delicious pastries. Their soup is good. Their sandwiches are good. Their frittatas are amazing. You can't go wrong. So come and have some coffee or tea with us. And they're called the Daily Dose because they do CBD oil. So you can grab that too. And you can have a wonderful breakfast or lunch and shop with me. Now, you also can show up around 9:30, I believe is when we get started. Um, we will be having the Charleston chapter, Charleston, West Virginia chapter of the Silent Reading Book Club. So if you're also a book nerd like me, you can come out to the group. I do not run it. That would be the fabulous Miss Book Diva, Vivian Taylor. And you can find that group on Facebook. You can find that group. I probably need to put her in my organizations I support, even though I don't financially support her. Um, so you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. You can look for the Book Diva or just search for Charleston, West Virginia chapter of Silent Book Club. What happens here is that we bring a book of our choosing. You can read anything you want. You can bring a magazine if you want and just come hang out with us and read. And we also tend to talk a lot. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes we don't get to read because we're talking. But we have been really good lately about reading for at least an hour. So if you want to have some intelligent conversation, read a book and have amazing food and drink and shop my amazing products, you need to be at the Daily Dose on the 14th. I'll be out there from about 8 a.m. I am often a little late to close. Sometimes they close a little early if there's not a lot of traffic going on. So just keep that in mind. What will I have there? Soaps are going to be 3 for $20. I've got a lot of soaps that are molds I'm no longer making, so I want to get those moved on to homes. I'll have my Angels products there, candles, meditation kits, necklaces. I have a few copies of my prayer and Bible study book left. I have meditation candles. I will have medicine wheel candles. I do not bring like my full setup because it is a small table I'm on. So I do try to bring about 2 of everything. If you want to shop ahead of time and have me waiting there with a bag for you, you are more than welcome to do that on my website. And I think I have a pickup option on there. If I don't, message me, and I'll get your order together for you, and that way you know I'll have what you want there. So I will be there that day. I will be reading because I only have approximately 30,000 books left to read until I can finish writing my book. But please come shop. Please feel free to interrupt me. Um, I have found that most people do not like me to approach them. They just want to check out the product, and that is fine. I normally say hi, and I normally tell you that snag me if you have a question. And I hang out around the booth because sometimes I find it's even intimidating if I'm sitting there because I've got some different products, right? Um, Feel free to come and shop them. You can smell the soaps, you can smell the candles. Um, we'll have a great time. There are no dumb questions unless there is hatred in the question. Then it's a dumb question. But other than that, you can ask me anything you would like. Now, the next thing I have to unveil is my vendor poster for the Central Kansas Paracon. This is going to be one of my first national Paracons outside of state for me. So I am super psyched about it, and my book will definitely be available at this Paracon. Um, I will have a full setup there. And this looks like an amazing Paracon. They have got a very wide and really amazing set of vendors that have signed up. Looks like they've got some excellent speakers, and there's going to be a ghost hunt. And the price is looking really affordable as well. So if you are interested in joining us, this is going to be September 25th through 27th in Kansas, and I'm blanking on the place and I cannot see it on the slide. Hopefully you can. I think it's Hillsdale, Kansas. So go check them out. Just search for Central Kansas Paracon, and they're going to pop up, especially on Facebook. And you can get all the information there. I'm not sure if tickets are on sale yet, but definitely you want to subscribe so that you know when they are on sale to come out to the event. It's going to be, I believe, at a hotel, and then I'm not sure where we're investigating for the night. So I am very much looking forward to seeing you there. I'm very, very excited to unveil my first out-of-state Paracon vendor poster as well. Now, speaking of who is the girl at the mortuary, at the sleeper mortuary, if you follow me on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, you got to see a very interesting video this week set to Gnarls Barkley's Crazy, because I kind of feel like I'm crazy. Um, and I promised you video, and I think I said it wrong in the post. So that map that I'm looking for is not getting here until this coming Wednesday. You're going to be seeing this video on Saturday, so the next coming Wednesday. And I will have to then quickly try to put all the evidence together with the map. I have to get the map all sorted out, and then I'm going to make you the video. So I'm hoping you're going to get a double video next week. No promises. It really just depends on how fast I can get that map sorted out, with where I need to put dots and like how easy it gets. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, what you should do is you should go to my website, which is linked in the description, and you should like me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And definitely you should be subscribing to this YouTube channel. And then you will get all the cool updates on what's going on with this book. The long and short story of it, and it's going to be a teaser because I don't want to give it away. I want you guys to read the book and enjoy it as it comes, like in its sequence. But we had first of all, there was so much going on with maps at this case, right from the start. And I think it was really just because we're trying to find something. So, you look on a map. But what ended up happening was right out of the chute, we had one spirit who gave us literal directions on a map. He actually asked if we had a map, and gave us directions, and they were pretty meaningless to us at the time. And I say us, like there's like this team. It's me. Um, so it was pretty meaningless to me at the time. Although it did kind of make sense. I was able to like look at some of this on the map and say, wow, that might make some sense somewhere. That's cool. And then kind of stored that information away. And we were also given some tribe names in the process. And then when we went out to the coffin, we actually had someone by the coffin tell us where they wanted us to go in Iowa. And it turned out to be fruitful. There's already a video up of my journey through DeSoto and talking to a couple who had passed away that had an Oddfellows marker by their grave and claimed to know what I was talking about, and sent us immediately into someplace we couldn't tell what they were saying. Um, so we have had numerous, I guess that's three then. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. So it's not two, it's three. We've had three spirits send us places in this investigation. And in 19 years of investigation, that's unheard of. That's just craziness. I feel like I'm in some kind of twilight zone. But as I have followed down this latest lead that I got at Christmas time, I'm so glad I decided to jump it and to delay the book a little bit to follow this out because we now have this really cool map that seems to encompass all the research and all of the things that we heard from all three spirits. So I kind of at one point just absolutely lost my mind. And I decided I had to see if it really worked out. And so I pulled up states and cut them out, and I knew they were not even to size with each other. I just wanted to get a rough idea because the cheapest map I found that was usable on Amazon was $20. And as it turns out, it looks like it's promising. So I am going to share some of that with you guys. I'm not going to share it all. Some of it's got to be kept for the book. You've got to have some surprises and you've got to enjoy the thrill of the ride the way that I have had to enjoy the thrill of the ride, even when sometimes it's not been enjoyable. Um, Sometimes it's been very, very stressful trying to figure things out. I want you guys to experience that, but I am going to shoot you a video. Hopefully it's out by next Saturday. Hopefully you get a double video next Saturday. You're also going to get another treat. So on TikTok, I got to meet Dee McCoy. She actually messaged me. She has a podcast called Light Paranormal. So she talks about things that are of a lighter nature with the paranormal. These are things like spirit animals and angels. And oh my gosh, I have no idea how we connected. So she told me that she reads stories of people who have had encounters with things in the paranormal that are light and peaceful and happy. And oh my gosh, who doesn't need that more in the world right now? So I wrote her my angel story. I have told some of that on one of my YouTube video, but I followed it out all the way to the end for her. So she's going to be reading that. She told me as I wrote it on her podcast that will premiere on February 16th, 2026. There is, I don't know how well you can read her website on that flyer, but fear not, because she is also linked in the description. So she has her podcast on Spotify, but you can also listen on her website. I've been listening on her website. She has got some amazing ideas and she really goes in depth with the topics she's talking about. It's really nice. She's got a great voice too. It's very peaceful to listen to. Um, Head over to her website. Make sure you like her on her socials as well. And she's not going to be reading just my story. There is another angel story by somebody else who submitted that she'll be reading as well. So that just segues perfect into saying that I did demons this week so that I could do angels next week. So it was closer to the premiere date of this podcast. So next week, please join me. We will be learning about angels. And so I hope that you have found this video helpful. Again, please feel free to reach out if you have questions, comments, concerns. I love to hear them. Be sure to check out both of my website and Dee's website. And if I tag one down for Central Kansas, I will throw theirs in the description too. I actually haven't looked for one. We've communicated on social media. So I will put all those in the description. Make sure you hit subscribe. I will see you next week.